So today we're going to talk about why your client gets weird around or about accountability. So in order to explain this, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. And this happened more than a decade ago. It was actually a past accountability training. And so just imagine it's like probably 2009 or 2006 or something like that. And we're going way back when into the past of accountability trainings past, if you will. And so at the time we had some real celebrities taking our trainings, and they had friends that they were just raving about what they were experiencing in accountability training for a variety of different reasons. I'm not going to get into that. But one of their friends, they kind of dragged him to sign up for one of our immersion trainings, an accountability immersion training. And so I was at the time mentoring many of our students throughout the training, and I was actually having one-on-one sessions with them. So he had a coaching session with me scheduled at the time, and I can't remember which week it was of the training, but a couple weeks into the training, he finally was going to have a session with me. But his reputation had preceded him. My students kept telling me and complaining about, actually, this guy's not showing up for his sessions. He's constantly late. He's barely even there. That's kind of the conversation that they were having. And of course, I was running the training, so here I am supposed to, help them deal with this as well. And so, I'm thinking, well, gosh, I'm a great accountability coach. I teach this stuff, and when he shows up on my session, I'm going to let him have it, right? I'm really going to give him a taste of accountability, because obviously these students haven't really been rigorous enough with him. So lo and behold, it's time for our session, and he comes on, a good deal late, like 10, 15 minutes late, something like that. And I just did what I would normally have done as an accountability coach, but I did it quite intensely. And intensity levels can go up and down depending on the situation. But he really lost it when I did that. He came on very friendly. I gave him some pretty rigorous and intense accountability, and he just went on the attack, telling me all about how, I don't know what I'm doing. And, he paid for this. He could do whatever he wants. And, you just went on a rant. Right. And so got to the point where, like, he just was completely uncoachable. And I just let him know. I was like, look, we're not going to be able to even have a coaching session, obviously, because you can't even hear what I'm saying at this point. And at that point, he kind of calmed down, and he took some of the coaching, and we had a, more reasonable conversation, as you might imagine. And then a couple of weeks into that process, a couple of weeks later, I'm probably about halfway through the training, he just quit. He just left the training, said, I'm out. I'm not going to do this training. And it wasn't a friendly departure either, as you might imagine at that point. So, and this is a very successful individual, right? This is somebody who is running a division of an organization at the time, and had very powerful friends, and seemed to have everything going for him, right? But really couldn't take much accountability, right? Like, couldn't even just show up to sessions as he promised, right? Really basic stuff you would imagine. And so it's kind of surprising that somebody would actually sign up for training, pay for it, go through all these hoops, and then they're not really even following through on what their basic promises are for participation in the training. A couple years later, he pretty much lost everything. And again, I don't know if this was completely connected, but his business went to heck, and he had to really jump through a bunch of hoops in order just to survive. And luckily, he had a great network, so he kind of lived off of his friends' generosity for a while. And even to this day, a lot of the partnerships that he has are really based on the people around him kind of contributing to him for whatever reason. Now, that doesn't mean that that's, again, connected in any way, but I thought it was worth noting. So what happened there? Because I mean, that is exactly what we're talking about today. When your client gets weird about accountability, why did that happen? What was really going on there? And the truth is actually pretty simple. The truth is, he just really wasn't into it. He really wasn't playing the game. And you could say, maybe a different way of saying it is, this individual just wasn't committed. Wasn't really committed to to being in the training, to doing what it took. But he just really wasn't playing the game. Like, you could see it. I mean, he was basically phoning it in at best. When he was doing anything, really wasn't going to play. Definitely wasn't playing full out, and didn't want to either. Just didn't want to, right? So now, why was that? I can't tell you, right? But I could tell you for sure he wasn't really wanting to play. And maybe his friends did drag him into that. Maybe they pitched him harder than he should have been pitched. Maybe he really truly hadn't enrolled. Maybe he somehow didn't fully appreciate the commitment that he was making. I don't know. But he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing full out by any stretch. And you know what? He probably would have said the same thing. Although that wasn't the conversation I had with him for the most part. It was mainly just accountability. So who knows? So why your client gets weird about accountability that you're giving them, because they don't want to play full out. They just don't. It's super simple. Now, they may not tell you that. They may not be responsible for that. They may not admit that. I mean, when I was talking to this individual, we didn't, again, bring it up as an issue. But, would he have had that conversation with me about how he's really not committed to play full out? I don't know. Possibly, very possibly. Maybe that would have made a difference. Probably would have. Whether or not he would have actually decided to play full out from that conversation, your guess is as good as mine, right? Because everyone has a choice. But he just wasn't committed to playing full out. And that's why your client gets weird around accountability and their commitments, is they're not playing full out and they don't want to either. Now, if they're hiding that, let's say they're just not getting that, they're not clear about that, they're not responsible for that, somehow there's a little bit of like pretentiousness there. There's a bit of an inauthenticity, as we would say in the coaching realm, about that. You can think of it this way. They can maintain that, but it's hard to. If you've ever been at the pool or the beach and you had one of those big beach balls and you try to push it under the water, try to submerge it, you'll find that you can do it. You can kind of hide the ball, so to speak, but it's challenging, right? It takes real energy and maintenance because the ball is always trying to kind of get its way up to the surface, right? That's the force that it's pushing in all these different directions. It's hard to balance how you push it down to make sure that it doesn't just like pop up behind you or in front of you or beside you or something like that, right? So it takes crazy amounts of effort to hide that beach ball. And sooner or later, there's a good chance it's probably going to pop up in the surface as soon as you take your attention away. And that's the same thing with anything that you're hiding, anything that your client is hiding. They can do it. They can hide it from themselves. They can hide it from you. We'll talk a little bit about that in detail in a couple minutes, but it takes a lot of energy. And what we actually find is a lot of times the challenges we see in people's lives are not associated with lack of a great strategy or like a motivation or something like that. It's actually that they're just coping with the symptoms, if you will, the processional effect, if you will, of them hiding something. And so although the symptoms and the fallout is not the same as what they're hiding, like they're not directly connected, there is a domino effect, right? There's a symptom of that, even though the symptom is not the cause. The dominoes falling all the way out here that's not the first domino that got pushed. It's that hidingness. It's that inauthenticity. It's that pretense, that act, if you will. It's the little sham that they're perpetrating. Okay. So you could talk to your client about this, about them not playing full out. You can do that, but there's a good chance that they'll just hide it. They'll just deflect. And that'll take effort, and there'll be symptoms to that actually happening as well. I'll give you another explanation. My daughter last night was in just a really, really negative state of mind. If you ever had a friend, or especially like a child, who they're just like depressed or kind of crying, and it kind of like gains its own momentum. She was kind of in that space, not like really intense, but like everybody in the house was paying attention. So we kind of were listening to the story, and she said something like, I mean, again, I'm paraphrasing, but like, I'm a loser. I always lose. I never get to win. Just kind of like that kind of depressed complaint, that kind of sad, kind of complaining kind of state she was in. And I could tell that, I mean, when I heard her say this, I thought, okay, she really thinks that this, like, something's wrong. Like, it shouldn't be this way, the way her life is. That was just her perspective at the moment. And like, so think of it like she had this belief that this shouldn't be, like, it shouldn't be this way. And so I started to realize that she only wanted to play games that she was going to win. And of course, we know life doesn't work that way, right? There's plenty of games that we play that, like, every day, then we're not necessarily winning those games. And the truth is, you don't get to win. That's not a promise for you. You only get to play. If you were thinking about life as a game, kind of like the way that my daughter was describing, how she was losing, she wasn't winning. The games that we play in life, all those games, the things that you care about, you wake up in the morning and all that stuff. You don't just get to win those games. There's no guarantee of that. There's no promise of that. Whether or not you deserve it, right? You don't get to win necessarily. I mean, maybe you will win at some points. But you just don't automatically get to, no matter how you play. But you do get to play. That is something that you do get. Life offers the open door for you to actually join in the game and actually play the game at any point. Now, by the way, is that game the same as somebody else's games? Like, can I play basketball? Can I play in my life the game of basketball the way Michael Jordan plays the game of basketball? No, I don't have the same biology, right? I don't have the same physiology. So I have a physical difference. I have a situational difference that will have me not play that game the same way, right? But can I still play the game to do everything I can to play basketball? Yeah. So in that way, I'm still getting to play. I got one leg, I'm short, whatever, right? It's like, great. And I'm not gonna have Michael Jordan won that game, right? I may not win. I may lose the rest of my life. I can still play if I choose to, though. That's the opportunity there. So I told my daughter, honey, everything is a game. Everything in your whole life is a game, and you get to play games all the time. You get to play the game of school. You get to play the game of playing with your friends. You get to play the game of getting to bed on time, getting your homework done. You have all these different games that you're playing. You get to play the game of how many plush tie Beanie Boo toys that you can get grandma to give you in 1 month period, right? It's got all these games, and she knows what the games are, and she knows what it looks like to win them, right? You know, because she actually plays them, right? And she says, yeah, but you know, the games I win, they don't have any rewards. You know, I'm like, yeah, I know I win some games, but you know, the games that I win, I don't get a reward for that. And the truth is, I didn't say this at the time because I was thinking, I was like, wow, you know, she still got this experience. Like, she doesn't get rewarded for the games that she's playing, right? It's like not fulfilling for her, if you will. Probably not what a 9-year-old would say. She wouldn't use those words, but you know, translation, right? And the truth is, the reward is that she got to play. That's the reward. And so the reward for me playing and losing my basketball game again and again and again, or playing to get this live stream on Facebook today and losing that game, like, we were not live on Facebook. Nobody who's on Facebook who had all this shared with them is going to see this unless they click the YouTube link. And how many people are going to see that link? Oh, I lost, you know. Like, I don't get to win that game. But I played it. I played restarting the system and connecting all the dots and not quite doing it quite at the timing that it needed to be and all that stuff. Maybe I could have won. I'm sure I could have. But my reward for doing this live stream, my reward for playing the game and trying to get the darn thing on Facebook is, hey, I got to play, right? Now, do I feel really, really great about that? A second ago, I didn't. I'll tell you, when the live stream started today, I didn't. You know, I felt like I don't want to do this live stream. I literally wanted to, like, you know what, just scratch it. We'll do it another day, right? All the notices I sent out and all that stuff, you know, oh, shit, I just wasted all that, right? Because I was looking for my reward. Where's my parade, right? Maybe I'm not going to get that parade today, but I still get the reward of actually getting to play the game. I can play this game. I'm still playing, right? That may not be the reward that I signed up for, but that's the reward I always get. And so your client, they will lose games all the time until the day they die. They're going to lose. They're going to lose some game. Now, they can focus on that or not. That's up to them. That's psychology. But the losing of the games, that doesn't like change just because like you do some good coaching or something. It'll either work or it doesn't. The other day I was actually, was that today? Anyway, there is a really, really, really successful gentleman who I follow from time to time, and I kind of watch his videos. And he's an entrepreneur. He runs this very, very successful analytics company, like a SaaS company, and he's been in the game for, speaking of games, been in the game for a while. And so I think it was today that I heard him say this. He explained that, you know, this is him talking, I wanted to expand my business and I wanted to start this other company and I wanted to make that successful. But the problem was I had built my reputation on like making videos of me in front of a Lamborghini and with all this fancy stuff around me to kind of show people how successful I am. And I am successful. I have all this money. I spent all this money on this fancy stuff. But in order to build the company I have now built, I was not going to be able to afford that Lamborghini anymore. I wasn't going to be able to afford my lifestyle. And so I was going to have to, all of a sudden, in order for me to get what I really wanted, to win the new game I wanted to play, I was going to have to lose this other game, because this new game takes years and years and years to win, and money and money and money and money. And you get no reward, and you can't like look pretty and have a Lamborghini at that time, at least for him, you know, in his situation, the way he was going to capitalize that. He's going to have to personally front that for himself. And he said, you know, I got to the point where it's like, I didn't even want to, like, I wasn't going to win this new game I wanted to play, because it was going to cost me all this other stuff that I had built on, and I was like attached to that. And so finally I just had to sell everything. I had to move into this like empty apartment with like just a desk and a bed, have nothing else going on for myself, not spend any money, and then do that for like a decade to build the company I've now built successfully that's growing by leaps and bounds. So like, no matter how amazing you think you know these people are that we look up to and we think are so awesome, like they're losing. That guy lost. He lost his Lamborghini. He lost his lifestyle. He lost all this stuff. He was playing those games. Now you can argue, well, those games suck. Jeff, those are not the kind of games you should play. There are no important games. There's only games that are important because you say they're important. Everybody gets to decide what game they're going to play, but they don't get to decide whether they're going to win or not. So his game that he was playing for his cash flow and income and his lifestyle at the time, which I'm sure he was very addicted to at the time and very attached to, that had become a game that he was going to lose in order to actually play full out on another game. There was no guarantee he was going to win. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what a great coach you are. I don't care who your clients are. They're losing games all the time. All the time. Now, they might be winners. That might be their identity. But I coach a lot of winners. And the first thing that comes up in the first like half a year, 6, 12 months of their coaching is all the areas in their life where they're very much losing. There's a super, super duper winner. Like this individual is a very high sales achiever. I coach them like all the time, like almost pretty much every month. And they're the top salesperson at this organization. And, I started coaching her about 4 years ago, something like that. And she's always been an achiever in that organization. And so we were working on making that better and better. And she's achieved like tremendous things as of end of last year and moving up from there. But over the last 2 years, the biggest things that I've noticed is that her health is barely hanging on. At the time that I first started coaching her, she was a smoker. She has no really redeeming relationships that would really be fulfilling for her, at least on an intimate level and a really close kind of like immediate family level. And I could go on, like emotionally, all these kind of things that, for years I started noticing quite quickly there was emotional problems, relationship problems, health problems, and on, right? Lifestyle problems, time problems. So what looked so successful probably to almost anyone that this individual was presenting to and was selling to and was a role model for, beneath that, lose. The biggest winner that you can meet, they're losing every day. I'm not saying it's in all of their life, but I bet you like anywhere between 30 and 50% of it. Easily. So life is a game, and it's a game that you never really win fully because there's so many aspects to it in so many areas. If you really are going for it and you really are up to something, chances are aren't gonna win all the time. And you'll lose on a regular basis, basically all the time in some area that actually matters to you. Even if you don't admit that it matters to you, you are, and it does. So, as I told my daughter, the reward, you don't get this reward of winning in every game. And you don't always get a reward when you win. You don't get the parade just because you did the thing for the thing that you thought was so great. The reward is, and the only reward that there truly is, that's a real reward, because the real things can't be replaced. They're there no matter what. If something comes and goes, it's not really that real, right? Like if the person that I'm supposedly in love with, if my love comes and goes, or their commitment to me comes and goes, I wonder how solid that really is. So the real reward is that you get to play. That's what I should have told her at the time, and I just couldn't come up with that. I've been thinking about this, and so I'm going to tell you instead of her. Sure, I'll tell her at some point as well. That's the reward. She gets that reward. I get that reward. You get that reward. Your clients get that reward. People that you lead and mentor and support get that reward. They get to play. That's all they get. They don't get to win all the time. Now, that I would offer you, especially in terms of accountability, is the key to winning. Because if you know that, you can always win, because all you got to do is play. You win because you get to play, so to speak. And from that space, if your client was actually just seeing that the win is the playing of it, they would be playing full out. They would be going for it. They would be demanding accountability from you, not getting weird about it, not pushing back about it, not like giving you reasons why not. Already in this training, those that you're working with, I bet you at some point they give you reasons why not, why they didn't follow through, why they weren't late to your session, why. Give you all sorts of reasons why not, or probably gave you some pushback at some point. Maybe not in this training, because they're already kind of like, like drinking the Kool-Aid of accountability. But very soon, if you're coaching anybody in the outside world, you're going to get pushback. And the reason you're getting that is they're not playing full out. And the reason why you're getting that weirdness, they're not playing full out. And what has them not playing full out is they don't get the actual game. The games that they're playing in life, they're not playing full out, and they can't win them because they don't get that the only win is that they actually get to play full out. That's really the game, is who do they need to beat in order to do that? So you're going to get reactions sometimes, and they're going to be weird at times from your perspective in these coaching sessions. Like somebody, you're gonna get in their face, be rigorous, intense accountability, start taking them through step one, and they're gonna just go numb on you. They're not gonna say anything. They're just gonna clam up. They won't have an answer. It'll be like, what's going on? And you're gonna ask them, why are you going numb on me? It's because of this. It's because they're not playing full out. That's why they're going numb. That's why they're not even in the session with you anymore, even though they haven't hung up. They already left, physically, not physically, but emotionally or spiritually. They're not even there. They don't even be in the session with you then. They're numb. Or they get angry, like I talked about in that story at the beginning of this live stream. They get in your face, kind of dish it back out to you, right? Get all superior and reactivated and all that kind of stuff. They express their pushback, right? That they're not playing full out. That's just another thing that reflects that. It's just a symptom of them not playing full out. Or one of the obvious symptoms would be apathy. I don't even care about it. I wasn't really committed to that in the first place. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. You know what? I don't even give a shit about this training. Forget it. No big deal. There's more important things in life than this. It's like saying there's more important things in my life than the games I'm playing in my life. It's like, those are the games you chose. So apathy or being apathetic is another just reaction that somebody might have. Being a victim is another one. This one really can be very intense. And there's all sorts of ways it can show up. And I'm not going to go into every single manifestation of victimhood today. But I'll give you an example. This is actually a very high-level client that I've worked with for over a decade now. I won't get into details for confidentiality's sake. But this individual is going through some massive changes in her family life fairly recently. And they were being very righteous about somebody in their family that they were making some changes to their relationship, as you can imagine. Again, not to get into too much detail, but basically there was a divorce going on. Okay. And so she had every reason why she wanted to be angry and upset about her husband and how he wasn't pulling his weight and he wasn't doing this and he wasn't doing that and what a horrible human being he was. I mean, you get the idea, right? This is not exactly a unique situation when people split up, that sometimes there's a little blame going on, right? And so, I let this go on for a while, and finally I just kind of let her have it. I said, look, you're just blaming him for everything. And it's like, you're the one that's doing this, 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 and this. Look at what you're perpetrating and covering up and how you didn't handle that. And you didn't follow through on this. And he's just calling you out on that. And like, you're just like totally blaming him for it. And I got really intense with her about it because she was so righteous about the whole thing, right? Just so on her kind of, kind of on her mountain, looking down at everyone else as she was superior to, her soon to be ex-husband, right? And so I was very intense. Let's put it that way. I was looking to interrupt that pattern. Plus, I needed to call her out for just being accountable to this, right? Just not like just doing blamesmanship constantly with a relationship that's going to matter because the kids and the finances and everything else they're going to need to manage for like almost the rest of their life together to some extent. So this is going to be a real cost to her if she didn't handle that. And so when I did that, I think she heard the truth in it to some extent. And then almost instantly, she started crying. And she's like crying. And she said, well then, there's something wrong with me. I just can't handle this. I just give up because, I'm there, I'm obviously a piece of crap. And, I can't just, all of a sudden it was the opposite. Like before it was like, he's horrible. He's not good enough. This is all my, passing judgment. And all of a sudden she's judging herself. Right. And so when the first game didn't work to get her out of playing full out and to shine to get the attention off of the fact that she just wasn't playing full out in that relationship, and I called her on that, instantly she went into victim mode. And so if that whole superiority thing and that super drama doesn't cover up the fact that she's not playing full out, maybe being a victim, doing that super drama can. Maybe that can deflect what's going on. So she went into that thing, right? Now how horrible she was and how unworthy she was and how she was a lost cause and she just can't handle her emotions and all this kind of stuff, right? And so of course I had to also call her out on that because that wasn't true either, right? It's like just making everybody else wrong, that's probably not a good idea and it probably doesn't really make sense. It has no integrity to do that. But then making herself wrong and then beating herself up, that's not completely true either, right? So she was just flipping over to a victim game and being very, very intense about that. So I had to work and weave with her to a point where she wasn't playing any game and she was just seeing, here's how I'm showing up, here's what's going on, here's where the issue is, and here's what I need to do to get it handled so I could go play full out and get back into my life. She was being weird about the accountability I was offering her because she wasn't playing her life full on. That's why she got weird. And that's the only reason why your client is going to get weird about accountability with you. And they'll come out as being numb or angry or apathetic or being a victim or blaming you or attacking you back or being righteous. That's just a smokescreen to cover up that they just aren't playing the game full out, or maybe not even playing it at all. And not only can they not play the game, or at least not play it full out, they definitely can't win. Because how are you going to play a game that's an extraordinary game for you? This is really important to you, and it's really something that's not going to automatically happen, because that's most games that we play in the first world are not things that are just like falling off a log. How are we ever going to win that game if we don't even play it, or don't even at least play it full out from time to time? The chances are it's not going to happen. So what do I mean when I keep saying game? Because like I said to my daughter, everything in life is a game. Your relationship, that's a game. Your finances, that's a game. Your coaching business, that's a game. Working with your clients, that's a game. All the things that are important to your clients, those are games for them. So here's a game. I'm going to just define a game for you. It's very, very simple. Okay. A game is over there is more important than over here. Or a different way of saying it might be over there is better than over here. Okay. So it's like an evaluation. It's like making a judgment as to where, like what the goal is, where you want to be. I mean, that's the massive oversimplification, right? Games have other aspects to them, but the simplicity of it is that there is a goal and you're trying to get to that goal. That's it. Over there is more important than over here. That's the game. And so when you look at the wheel of your client's life or the wheel of your life, and you look at relationships, family, friends, intimate relations, whatever, all those things, there's things that you'd like to see happen in that area of your life, right? I want to marry the man or woman of my dreams. I want to sustain my marriage. I want to get more passion in my marriage. I want my kids to be like amazing and have them have great lives and relationships with each other and me. I want to be friends with all these really, really cool people, right? There's all these things that you want, whatever that is. That's the game. It's like over there, all that stuff that I just said is more important than where I am currently or where I want to avoid being, let's say. And then finances, I want to make $1 million. I wanted a passive income. I want 10 coaching clients that pay me $1,000 a month, whatever that is, right? That's like all those things are better than where I am now. Like over there is better than over here. That's the game. So every area of your life, you have a game that you are either playing or not playing. And if you're playing the game, you're either playing it full out, like at 100%, and really putting that part of your life at stake, putting it at stake in the matter of the game that you're playing, or you're not. That's it. And so it's good to take stock of this. It's also great to take stock of where's your client at as well. There's a new client I started working with the other day and doing a lot in his business, all sorts of cool stuff. But it's obvious, I think, to him as well, even though he might not use the same words, that he's not playing full out in most of those areas of his life. Just not. You can hear it in his voice. You can hear it in how like what he's up to, like what he's perpetrating in his activity. The other day, I think he said something like, I like when I wake up in the morning, like I don't even want to wake up. I don't even want to do anything. Kind of apathy, right? He's like, okay, when you were working with me, are you going to help me with that? Right? Like, are you going to change that for me? Right? It's like, well, he's just not playing full out. He was playing full out. He'd be like totally hungry to wake up and just go for it in the day. So it's just like, you're just going to notice this contrast with your clients at times. You're going to notice you're like way more excited about their life working out for them than they are, or that you're way more committed to the games that they're up actually in that are going on in their life right now than they are. It's like, that's like, just get that's going to happen a lot of times. That's why you're the coach and they're the client. And you got to bring that up. I mean, this is not meant to be like a how-to, like what to do about this, but to simplify it, the what to do is like, let them know, hey, look, you're just not playing full out here. Like, how the heck are you going to get the result if you're not playing full out? Are you committed to play full out or not? Like, just deal with that. Maybe that's a commitment they need to make before they make all those other commitments that would be predicated on them actually playing the game or playing it full out. Then you can actually address the other elements, the other games, or the other aspects of that game. This is square one, right? And as coaches, we love to do the really advanced stuff. We love to do the strategic stuff, the emotional stuff, the law of attraction stuff. We love to do all that stuff. But like, what if the client we're working with, like, what if we managed a basketball team where the team didn't even want to bounce the ball, right? Can you imagine like, I'm showing up for NBA practice, I'm the coach, and my team, like half of them show up and half of them don't for practice. And when they're playing for practice, they're kind of like just hanging out and, eating snacks half the time. Like, they would just be insane. It would be so weird to see that. And of course, you wouldn't expect that. But that's what you're going to see with a lot of the clients that you'll do free sessions with, that will hire you. I mean, these people are spending large amounts of money showing up for their sessions with you, and they still don't play their life full out. They still don't. So does that sound weird? Well, like, call them out on it. Bring it up. Because if it sounds weird to you, it'll probably be odd to them. I'm not saying they won't protest. They probably will. They don't want to look bad. Probably maybe want to please you, or don't want to get found out. But better sooner than later on that one. Doesn't mean you like massively reject them for that. Doesn't mean that you have to like really make them feel wrong or judge them for that. But just like, hey, it's okay. Anything's okay. It's just not the game. So just be careful of getting into this place of, hey, you're not playing this full out, and that's not okay. and you're wrong for that. And let me tell you, this is a problem for you. Like, that's not up to you. That's up to them to make those decisions. What you can do, though, is bring it up that's actually happening. It's like, hey, this looks to me like you're not really playing full out. Do you get that? Do you see that? What's your perspective? And actually getting in the conversation about it. And if they are like, yeah, you're right, I'm not playing full out. Like, you don't have to, there's no judgment there. It's not like good or bad. It's just not that game. It's like, so in accountability immersion training, if you're not getting your free sessions set by the end of this week, if you're not following through on your assignments, if there's something where you're like busy with other stuff and you're doing all this other stuff, like maybe in your business or other areas of your life, and it's like it just gets in the way, basically, like of you actually getting the results in immersion training, that's okay. I mean, you got to get the distinction here. It's okay. Anything in your life is okay in the realm of being, in the realm of reality, right? It's like in the realm of physics. It's like if the sun goes supernova, it's okay. We're all going to die, right? So the game of being alive and doing what we like to do in our life, like that game is not going to go well. But it's like, it's okay. So anything in the realm of reality and physics is okay. There's no judgment. No judgment at all. That's part of your job as a coach. It's like really come with no judgment to really support your client in whatever they're up to or what they're not up to, for that matter. That's up to them, not you. You're not like their boss. And, stay grounded in that. Is it okay? And it just really, yeah, it's okay. And at the same time, it's not that game. So the game that they're playing, if they're not playing full board, it's okay. It's just not that game. If my NBA basketball team, if the Lakers, they like are tied and then they get the ball through the hoop like 2 seconds after the buzzer goes off, is that okay that it happened 2 seconds late? I mean, so what? It's 2 seconds. It's a big deal. Yeah, you're right. It's totally okay. But are they still going to lose that game? Yes. Or are they still going to go over to overtime? Yes. If it's tied, let's say. So it's okay. It's just not that game. So you got to get, and your clients got to get where the games in their lives where they're not playing the game at all. Like they're not even playing. Like if it's not like going well for them, they just check out and don't play. Like I wanted to do today when we didn't get on Facebook, right? Just like, where's my parade? Oh, no parade? I'm not even going to play, right? Like that was the way it was for me at that moment. Like, tell you the truth, I didn't at initially, like the last couple of days, I didn't even want to do this live stream. Didn't even want to be here. You know why? Make a wild guess why. Because I didn't want to play full out. I mean, I already did my training. I had 2 solid days of coaching this week. Like that's a lot. I got a business to run. I got a daughter I, spent like 30 seconds with yesterday. I got other stuff. I got other games in my life I could be playing. I'd like to catch up on the latest TV series. All sorts of other things I'd love to do in my life. All those sorts of other things, right? But all those were just excuses for simply, I didn't want to play full out because I knew if I get on this live stream, it's not going to be perfect. I might look bad. There's all this risk. But the truth was, I just didn't want to play full out. And I knew if I come on here with you actually listening or watching or whatever you're doing, if there's a recording for you at this point, right now we're live, obviously, like I'd actually have to play full out. Not like I have to, like I could actually be really lazy and just like have no energy. And like I could do that, right? It's just not that game. And I know that I'm committed to playing this game full out if I'm going to play it at all. So rather than not, like, I could just not play it at all. That's what I wanted to do. But instead, I showed up because I have a commitment to be here, right? I have a commitment to you. I have a commitment to this training. I have these commitments that just won't allow. There's just no room for not only not playing full out, and I get that, right? But in addition to that, there's no room for not playing the game. There's no room for just not playing the game. So I got to play. I don't even have to play. It's just I'm committed to play. Does that make sense? So, like, this is not something that is unique to your client. You do this all the time. I do this all the time. This is part of being human. So we don't want to play full out. We don't even want to play a lot of the time because we are not going to get the dopamine hit that we had hoped for. And it's not wrong. It's just not that game. It's just not going to win the game. And if you are, as their coach or as their leader or as their mentor or as their manager, committed to them winning the games, and you know they at least want to win the games, even if they're not committed to it yet, then this needs to get, like, they need to get this. You need to get this for them. You need to get this for yourself. I need to get this for me. Because the jig is up when you have this conversation. And at this point, the jig is up for all of us. I mean, that's why, like, literally, like, when we talked about last couple of weeks, like, you first showing up and you handling your own integrity and your own issues and your own issues around the coaching and all that. It's like, that's why I need to have that conversation with you today about me not playing full out or not wanting to play full out. That had me not want to be here even. Because that is, if you look at the world, it's that times billions, right? Times 7 billion. And with your client, it's that times whatever number of things they're up to, and they're perpetrating that in that way. And for you too. And you and you and you and you and you. Great. So, is it okay that you're not playing full out? Is it okay that you're not playing? Yes. It's just not that game. No judgment. It's just not that game. And you're not going to win the game if you're not playing full bore. Bottom line. So bring it up with your client. Hey, client, are you playing full out? Like, could you really say you're playing full out? Are you even playing the game? Where are you? Are you not playing at all? Are you playing full out? Where are you in that game? It's pretty black and white. And then no matter where they are, no judgment. Hey, it's okay. And are you going, you're either not playing the game, so just get you're not playing, or, hey, are you going to win this game if you don't play full out? All right. And are you committed to winning the game? Great. Now, are you committed to playing full out? Great. Now we can actually get into accountability. Now there's a possibility of them actually being hungry for that accountability and not being so weird about it. Pretty straightforward. Now, is it fun or easy or comfortable to have this conversation with your client? Depends on you, right? But again, that's why they're paying you for the coaching. That's why you're doing this as a job, because this is not something that's just good times and unicorns and rainbows. This is something where you got to put some intellectual and emotional labor and effort into getting yourself to have the conversation with your client that you don't want to have. If you don't handle you not wanting to play full out, like we just talked about, then how the heck are you going to actually get your client to deal with them not playing full out? You can't. So, because you're the source of that for them. And if the source is poison, if the source is already corrupted with the same issue, then you just got more not playing full out, or more not playing the game, more apathy, more. And then, like, that's what we see with corrupt governments or organizations that fail. We see excuses and stories and numbness and apathy and anger and victimhood and blaming and all that kind of stuff. We see all the weird stuff. We see all the acts that people do and use just to get away from having any integrity about this. That's it. So that's why your client's going to be weird around accountability. So now, why not? Why doesn't somebody play full out? Consider that the reason why, or what has your client not play full out, is that they're actually up to something that they haven't shared with you yet that stops them from playing full out. So now this could be a variety of things, but I'm going to link this in probably the description and comments. And if you're seeing this on YouTube as a replay, I probably have a tag in some corner somewhere where you can watch more detailed explanation on this, but usually your client's going to have some attachment. Like today in the live stream, I was attached that all of the Facebook like openings that I had to actually go live on Facebook, like all those were going to, like those dominoes were going to fall. Those were going to work out and I was going to be live on Facebook, and I'm not live on Facebook. Like nobody's going to see this on Facebook, right? So I was attached to that. So suddenly this, like, I'm going to play full out and kick butt and this really cool explanation of why people get weird about accountability. All of a sudden I was weird. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, can I get out of this? Right? Like I was like being a little baby, right? So I was attached to something. I wasn't just committed to getting this live on Facebook. I was attached to it. Like if that doesn't work, I'm not going to be okay. Right? There was an attachment there. So consider that you are attached where the commitments that you say are commitments, or the playing full out that you say you're playing full out, or that you like to play full out, is not getting played out that way. Like you're not really playing, or you're not playing full out. Consider there's some attachment that stops you from that. And the same with your client. Consider that your client has some attachment, and that gets in the way of them being fully powerful and committed and play full out. It's like, I'm attached to this going on Facebook, and so I'm not going to play full out in the live stream. Or you're like with that gal that I was coaching recently on her divorce. Like she was attached to having everything be a certain way that she made it up in her mind that her husband should be, versus just playing full out with him, right? Or, you know, my student in the immersion training, in the accountability immersion training, just being attached to this being easy and fun and just entertaining for him, rather than actually getting to buckle down and have breakthroughs and take himself to the next level in his life and his leadership. There was some attachment for him and her and me and you and your client, that like that, as long as that's an attachment that you don't handle and you're not responsible for it and you don't put in its place, it's going to stop you from playing full out. It's going to stop that commitment, even if you are committed to it. Maybe even stop you from playing at all. So consider that when your client is not committed, or you're not committed, or I'm not committed to play full out, like they're attached to something. You're attached to something. I'm attached to something. You want to figure out what that is. That would really make a difference for your client. Really uncover something. That would be a breakthrough for you. That would be a breakthrough for your client, is to get where you're attached rather than committed. Another possibility is that sometimes your client, and we can do this as well, of course, because I think we're human, we can get the rewards associated with games that we're playing and the commitment that it takes to play the game confused. So it's like we can confuse kind of the cause and the effect. We confuse like getting the trophy with what it takes to make it possible to get the trophy, right? So, hey, I'm committed to get that trophy. And the truth is, the real commitment that's required to get the trophy, because the trophy is like the reward, is going to practice every day, right? Or I'm committed to win the game. That sounds like playing full out. But what that's really more of the reward. Winning the game is the reward that comes from the commitment of showing up to practice every day, let's say, right? So people will get commitment, like cause and effect, confused. They'll get the rewards and the commitments that are required for the rewards confused. This happens a lot in coaching. A lot of times a new client will say, well, you know, if this doesn't work out, then I don't have to pay your fee, right? Or I don't have to stay in coaching if I don't like I don't like what's going on and I'm not getting good results. And of course, I tell them that's not at all the case, because the truth is, them liking what's going on or them having great results coming from the coaching and everything that's a symptom, or that's the reward that comes with the commitment of being in coaching and playing full out in coaching. So they don't get the playing full out and paying their fee and doing all the things they need to do in coaching without that doesn't get to be optional in case they win or don't win or whatever. It doesn't hinge on that, because that's just a reward, and they may or may not get that reward. There's no option as to whether or not you're committed or not. You gotta commit, and then sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll lose. winning doesn't like, you don't just get to commit to the things you're winning in, so to speak, right? So sometimes your client or myself, we're going to get those confused. And it's like the commitment I need to be on this live stream and do a great job and playful out is just to show up and do it, whether or not Facebook actually brings us on. The result, the reward of Facebook bringing us on, that's a reward that could actually show up associated with that commitment. Maybe. If I'm not committed, that would never show up. But I don't get to say, well, I'll only do this stuff, I'll only playful out if Facebook turns on. And if Facebook allows it, not going to work, not going to happen. So commitments and rewards get confused. Causes and effects get confused. And you want to make sure you straighten those out with your client. And then sometimes the conflicts that show up for your client, attachments, confusion, apathy, whatever, they're based upon something, like I said, that's hidden. It's like that, again, that beach ball that they pushed under the surface. Now, how might your client hide those things? First of all, they might just be blind to it. They might literally not be aware of it, of what it is that's hidden. It might be hidden from them to some extent as well. That's totally possible. So maybe they're just not aware. And it's possible they are aware of it, but they're not responsible for it. So they're being irresponsible about something that they're already aware of. Like my client that was going through the divorce, she was aware that things weren't working out with her husband on various aspects, but she was totally irresponsible about that. Like she wasn't taking responsibility for actually causing that result to occur, right? So sometimes people know the issue, whether they share it with you or not, but they're just not responsible. Like they don't see themselves as the source of that result. Let's see, Mastermind says, playing full out, my first event is at this Zoom link. Okay. Really great. Yeah, you're doing everything you can to get that Zoom call to happen. Very nice. Love it. So sometimes people just aren't responsible for the issue that is hidden, at least from your view, if not from theirs. Now, there are times when they really get what's going on, but they hide it, and they're literally not honest about that. They're not open about it. Like it's something they know about. It's something that they're consciously thinking about, but they're not going to share it with you, or they don't share it fully. They're not fully open about it. They're not honest about it. That's very possible. A lot of times that can happen. So first is awareness, then is responsibility, then kind of top level is actually being open and sharing that, right? Being open and honest, authentic about where they've been covering something up or what they weren't realizing before or whatever. Like actually taking ownership of that. That's tough. That takes some courage with your coach, with significant others, with people around you, team members, family members. Like that's where the real courage comes in. That's where people really can get some self-esteem and some confidence when they actually start saying what's really going on that they know has been going on, but they haven't been willing to talk about it because they don't want to deal with the karma, the consequence, the slap back, the reaction, the impact. They don't want to deal with that. So they cover it up and they're not honest about it, that kind of stuff. Another version of that, think of it like an act, like they're acting something out to hide that issue. There's two like really prominent versions of this. The first one is just trying to look a certain way. Like I want my image to be one way, even though, and like that's a kind of a publicity campaign for yourself. But even though they know that they're not really that image, right? They're just kind of like putting their best foot forward. And another version of that is people pleasing. It's like, I'm just going to do this to make you happy, right? Like it's not real. I'm not like, this is totally not authentic for me at all, but I'm just trying to please you. So looking good, trying to please other people, people pleasing, if you will. Those two are very prominent manifestations of actively acting something out that's not real, or actively hiding something that's there for you or that's there for that client. They're actively hiding it. So hope that helped. If you got any questions about this, let me know. And have this conversation with your clients. especially if you're holding them rigorously accountable and they get weird. Any of those versions of weird that I just mentioned, those smoke screens, like, talk about, like, are they actually playing full out? Let's deal with what's getting in the way of that, so they can actually get into the game, so they can get into the coaching conversation, and then you can deal with the accountability, and they can actually have a real conversation with you. Play full out. Speaking of playing full out, in a week 2, have your coaching sessions, follow through on your assignments. Assignments due at the end of this week, and I'll see you in the next training session. Take care until then.